picks and bans. You can see Dyrus and Aphromoo staring face to face there on the split. Let's get this one underway. Hecarim is going to be our first ban out. What are you guys actually expecting to see on this list?
I wonder, because it's weird because there's some things that are contested and some things not. Hecarim makes a lot of sense where it's more of a ZionSpartan, that carry sort. Annie and Sivir is the big bot lane that's so good for Team Solomid. They either play split push style where they have like Lulu Lucian, or they play a hardcore team fight with Annie Sivir. And it looks like CLG is denying that team fight style from Solomid.
Yeah, I think the Sivir is one of Wildturtle's best champions, and it's honestly what was the true carry in the initial victory Team Solomid had over CLG Game.
Right.
As well as one of TSM's most effective picks at IEM Katowice. One of the best bans I actually can think of against TSM is Sivir.
Oh, that's going to go away. Sion, that's interesting. That's actually a very good Dyrus champion. It even does things when you die with it, considering how much Loco Doco was talking about Dyrus here. But still, unstoppable Juggernaut Sion. He's pulled 2 bans here so far, and the Lulu right off the bat. I think it has most likely Lustboy, which now gives TSM a good laning phase if they 2-on-2 CLG.
I mean, I feel like that's also just a massive flex pick. We did see Dyrus playing that in the top lane on multiple occasions, and it opens up some protect carry strategies. In my opinion, Lulu's one of the most versatile and effective picks to first pick in League of Legends right now.
Yep, absolutely. And it would work on CLG in the same vein. You give Link that in the mid lane, he can support ZionSpartan or Doublelift to go crazy. So now you got to go for the next couple of rounds. You got to ask, with Maokai off the table then, is Rek'Sai the big pick you go for here, the big all-important jungler?
Yeah.
And it is, plus a disengaging support for Aphromoo.
Seen that first Rek'Sai come in today. Xmithie is going to be locking that one in. And Aphromoo onto Janna. Interesting they don't show too much, but Xmithie gets completely what he wants there.
We've seen a lot of discussion amongst Team Solomid as well about whether or not they want to play mid-game team compositions or late-game team compositions. And typically when everything has been on the line in the past, they'll default more to the late-game comps. Yesterday they had a mid-game comp, they threw in the Mundo, which really just eviscerated whatever late-game chance they would have.
That's true.
And I want to see what direction they take here against CLG, who's picked already some really strong mid-game champions in Janna and Rek'Sai.
Well, we did say a little bit that Dyrus tends to go down in the top lane. Even Loco mentioned that. So Lulu's still one of those champions you can offer the ult and offer a lot more, even if you go down a bunch of times. Seeing what else they'll round out the comp with, we saw a great Sejuani from St. Vicious last game. Santorin may actually try his hand at this.
This is now very interesting from Team Solomid. The lane gank power now with the Thresh. I like the fact they showed the Lulu, but then picked up Thresh. Janna's such a passive laner. It allows Thresh to fish for hooks, fish for flays, fish for offensive plays. Again, I keep thinking of the 2-on-2 down here for Wildturtle and Lustboy. This support sets them up for a lot of ways to try to bully around Aphromoo and Doublelift. I have high hopes for the TSM duo lane down here, but CLG, of course, to make their own picks. Their duo lane is lauded as one of the best in the region for a reason. I want to see if maybe we see the Kalista coming in here just for more hard carry power.
Only one tank pick so far on Santorin. He's an option open for Doublelift and what he wants to kind of go here and stay safe, as well as Wildturtle. Only Sivir was banned out. So with this, we'll probably see that AD carry coming in. The round out for Link to be in the mid lane, as CLG likes to go on the purple side picks.
This is where CLG picks the direction of their team comp.
Yeah.
Honestly. Getting away Jinx is really interesting because it takes away some of the synergy they could have with a top lane or mid lane Lulu, but it also makes them a little bit more vulnerable to Sejuani Thresh. It's not the greatest skill shot reliant champion. That's like a denial pick that doesn't quite yet fit in with CLG's overall team comp.
Well, the question is, can CLG disengage properly? If Doublelift doesn't die, you win the team fight almost outright with Kennen and Jinx just belting out damage in a 5-on-5. Again, we talked about TSM as one of their biggest strengths being these late-game team-fighting sort of teams, and CLG happy to play that style themselves. Doublelift getting farm and blowing people up.
I say the Blanc is pretty good against Kennen as well, if that's going to be what it is. Zed's still on the board for for Bjergsen and the Lustboy lock-in. And that Corki for Wildturtle can still put out some numbers on that one for himself.
TSM wants to make sure they keep their damage diversified here.
Yeah.
If they're going to do the mid lane Zed, I feel like Lucian would have been a better synergistic pick with
Been seeing that a bit more.
But as far as the overall team comp goes, this really pigeonholes TSM into that mid game. They need Bjergsen to get going on Zed, get split push edge, but because they don't have Lulu with a very heavy attack-based AD carry, it does have, you know, about a 40-minute window where they have to be able to win the game.
It does, but as you mentioned, them diversifying their damage output, all of these champions spike so incredibly hard. CLG, it'll almost be a reverse of the last time these guys fought, where CLG owned the map for 35 minutes, and then TSM finally found the team and turned it around. Well, TSM probably owns this game for the first long while here, and CLG has to find their ways in. Just because of Bjergsen's typical power in the mid lane, the fact that I really, really like TSM's dual lane in a heads-up 2-on-2.
5 seconds for this pick. That'll see if we have a flex or not. I mean, there are definitely elements in each of these team compositions that speak to that, but like a Rek'Sai versus Sejuani, Xmithie will be able to put his imprint on the game as well. Like, both of these guys are going for fairly similar power spike games. Like, they will be hitting their power levels in somewhat similar ways. Different lanes will have different power, but it's going to be a game of give and take. There's no clear this team totally dominates in the late game, in my opinion.
That's what I'd like to see. Also, we see Bjergsen usually getting solo kills in the mid lane. I think Link will be able to stave those off and secure himself from that early aggression. We'll see if Santorin or Xmithie have to say anything about it. The teams, they have locked the comps in here. Do we see a lane swap quickly favoring anybody? Usually we'll see the Corki kind of put into that lane swap initially.
I mean, as far as lane swapping and getting your support out of the lane, in terms of AD carry solo freezes, Thresh makes so many more plays than a Janna does, and I really want to see if Lustboy can make these kinds of aggressive hook plays and upset the various lanes.
Loco waiting for Skara.
All right.
There we go. Coaches of the top 2 teams in the North American LCS right there.
That's right. Previously players of the LCS right there.
True.
So...
Loco was never
didn't play in the LCS. He did.
It,
they both played
in pro leagues.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. So right now on LOLesports.com, the fans are leaning towards Team Solomid, but keep updating your vote throughout the match. Tweet at LOLesports using either the hashtag TSMWin or hashtag CLGWin. And we'll be tallying those votes up through the game. Both have played, though. We'll just go with that.
Yep.
Which one's louder? Pretty resounding TSM.
I think we're just used to hearing it, so we pick it out of the crowd easier.
That could be the case. We could see that.
Well, we are afoot, ladies and gentlemen. Team Solomid on the blue side, counter Logic Gaming in red. Winner is first place in the North American LCS at the end of Week 8 here. And has a chance to prove that they are the most fearsome entity in North America.
And Riv and Phreak, you guys were talking a bit about lane swaps earlier. CLG has been the lane swap masters of the NALCS. Level 1s as well have been somewhat contentious for TSM. You've heard them say, why do we do the same level 1 every game? Well, it's because they save different level 1s for some of their more difficult opposition. And Dyrus went on a bit of a rogue mission to get that board. Oh, is Link going to scout that with the Q? Oh my goodness. Whew. Oh, that would have been a dead Dyrus.
That is some good prep work by CLG to kind of see the counter-invade rules that TSM goes for. But all in all, TSM with a good defensive ward as well knows about the CLG invade path, plus the wards themselves going down. Really, everyone kind of understands what vision was given to the other team.
Yep.
Well, TSM has done something that you rarely see done. As far as looking at CLG's jungle, they have wards on both of the standard starting camps, Gromp and Krugs. They should know exactly where ZionSpartan, where Xmithie starts right here. Since they have wards on both those things, since they're on their own red side jungle, they should know that this blue is getting stolen away.
What's interesting here is the fact that TSM, though, have sort of preempted the entire lane swap game. They expect the swap to happen and not get seen. They have sent Wildturtle up there solo, but he can't freeze this because ZionSpartan's going to be right there in front of him.
Yeah,
it does actually allow a greedy start, though, for CLG. They get a camp with, I believe their top laner is.
It's going to be some good damage onto Link. He'll have to chug pretty much everything he has in the tank. Get himself back up to healthy. Level 1, it won't take too long. He's got to be careful. Aphromoo with the pressure towards the mid lane here. Doublelift has just approached the bottom lane to start farming as well. So now that we get things going, we know it's already going to be an action-packed game.
Very curious how the lanes actually were set up, since the supports, both teams expecting the lane swap, the supports were roaming at basically the start of the game. You got to see that, hey, guess what? Thresh does that better than Janna. And Lustboy now saying, okay, well, let's bully ZionSpartan back out of this lane. 2-on-1 the Kennen.
Yeah,
Being a very gold farming champion, that's going to be important for them.
but what's interesting about this is neither of the 2v1 quote lanes are actually freezing, and because both the supports roamed mid lane at the start of the match, there's not very heavy denial going down to either of these top laners. I'd say it's a bit of a respect move here by both teams, knowing that they know how to react to the lane swaps and really just playing into that mid lane matchup more than anything.
Well, it's going to make an even bigger impact when either team does something wrong if they're pretty much trying to mirror each other here. Right now, Santorin already to the top side,
It's
but
a level 3 Kennen.
Rek'Sai
Hard
to
to
the
dive
bottom.
if he uses his E properly.
yes,
Especially Sejuani, not the most fantastic early game turret dive, but they're going to be going for this Zion. Let's see if they can get him down.
the
Lustboy
top.
pulls aggro. ZionSpartan going to be taking a whole bunch of damage. Lustboy's sitting there to hold all the damage, and first blood goes to Wildturtle.
They did it just right as far as the aggro swapping. You want your support to get the first tag and sit back because he does the lowest amount of damage. He takes the turret shots, they get the kill down, and Dyrus backs away. It's a bit of a role swap. TSM says Dyrus usually dies in 1v2s. Dyrus is the one who plays this one safe. ZionSpartan plays it aggressively, is unable to outplay, and it gives TSM first blood.
Yeah, really nice play by TSM. ZionSpartan saw it coming, chose to leech the experience and teleport back in. Okay, he gets 2 more waves of XP, but he teleports back in, now summonerless. And you gotta wonder if that's gonna be worth it after all. With Dyrus zoning himself out, he's in level 2. CLG will get this bottom turret at 4.5 minutes once they bounce the wave.
And that's actually the big trade. It's not always, it's a really counterintuitive thing, but it's not always the best decision to not die in a turret dive situation. Because even though ZionSpartan gave up first blood, gave money to Wildturtle, he got substantially more CS, substantially more experience, and he also saved turret damage. All the time TSM spent killing ZionSpartan was not time spent killing the turret. Therefore, CLG vastly beats out TSM in turret pushing. Zion's turret took almost no damage, and it's not like it's going to be taking much damage anytime soon either.
He knows how to play that situation. We've heard him before. It is a privilege to be able to get CS up there. So when he can, he tries to get it in his pocket. Bjergsen here with nice charm from Link with the trade. The trade back is not the advantage for him. Bjergsen knows that it's going to be a very, very big skill matchup here in the mid lane.
And the mid-lane matchup definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. A small minion lead for Bjergsen so far. You saw that Link went in with a flask just at the very start, expecting to take all this damage. He's gotten a Doran's Blade or Doran's Ring for himself now, but it's just kind of a push back and forth, pretty much equal here. What I actually want to talk about is the fact that CLG put their duo lane back to the bot lane. That turret's already gone. This could only speak to them wanting an early dragon. Otherwise, you'd go back, equalize the turrets, get Zion back on the 1v1 with the level lead that he had against Dyrus. But that's not the choice.
I mean, there's also a chance they just want Doublelift to have as easy time as possible farming. Corki could absolutely beat Jinx in a standard 2v2 if you look at that support matchups. But as you said, the Dragon as well. If they can get turret and Dragon control early without giving up a gold lead, that would be a pretty big win by CLG overall.
You guys are both right. Doublelift in his prime farm environment. Dragon going over as well. And Link doesn't even have to leave mid lane. He's able to stay and farm. Great moves here by CLG Game, and the early rotatos pay off for them quite nicely. Taking a little bit longer, but it's going to. Smiting that one down. They have timer. They also, I thought that was their ward, but they don't have vision of Lustboy and Santorin.
Now it's TSM kind of choosing a cross-map objective. They know CLG has allocated 4/5 of their team to that bottom right corner. So great, let's control the top jungle. Maybe we can get red when it respawns at some point later on. An aggressive pink ward that'll at some point just be cleared, guaranteed in this game, but they'll see Xmithie when it does happen. They can track further movements. They can pinch off ZionSpartan, who is flashless right now.
This is going to be very scary for him. Just use that E, so he's got to be careful.
There has been a lot of focus on ZionSpartan in this game from TSM, trying to keep Kennen down early. And it actually doesn't seem to be denying him too heavily. He's about to hit level 6. They only just got that one kill, but it was at a pretty great cost. Turret and Dragon eventually is what fell to them. And Zion doing his best job of surviving all this pressure.
Completely reading the play on Lustboy here. Comes down to the mid lane. Very heady by ZionSpartan to be in position for this. Both teams here with a number of members.
Each team owns their own side of the map. Right side to CLG, left side to TSM. It's typically where the lane swaps and supports and junglers have been roaming up and down. If anything, though, Santorin might be farming a little bit more Dyrus, if Xmithie flashes, he'll trade it.
Yeah. Would have
Wanna
had
flash
to be the
follow.
trade.
I believe actually saw Sejuani moving around and said Santorin can help him out.
Yeah.
Let's not go for the flash knockup. I don't think he really had the damage. Link now going to get jumped on. Jumps back, dodges the charm is Bjergsen. Xmithie and Aphromoo are around, but I think the Zed is safe.
Woo. And he burned a ton of stuff from CLG right there. Burned Ahri ult and Aphromoo exhaust for his own summoner spells. I still say that's a worthy trade because it might help them get some pressure back on their own side of the map where they can maybe equalize that turret.
And so TSM slow playing it. CLG, okay, they got the Dragon. They got uncontested farm on Doublelift. He can back, I assume, for a BF sword in the very near future. Team Solomid taking their time with this one. They let Lustboy roam around the map. They try to upset the mid lane. They try to push down Link. Now the turret will go down. CS is equal on these AD carries. Triforce is going to be half done for Wildturtle here. No real big problems. And unless there's a severe mistake here, TSM will get this turret at their leisure.
Not too bad. Wildturtle sitting on 1,500. Looking to be able to finish up maybe that Sheen with this Phage when he goes back. ZionSpartan still there to save the turret. He hasn't accrued too much of a lead now over Dyrus. He's been able to keep himself in this, even though finding pressure along with Zion too.
And when TSM drops this turret, they're going to be in a pretty heavy gold advantage. A lot of this just has to do with who else but Bjergsen getting that advantage in the mid lane. Both teams have actually done a substantial amount of roaming mid lane. Little, not real ganks, but mainly just walk pressure. I wonder if Zion's going to try and stop that turret from going down. It goes down. Does he get anything back?
Xmithie's here. Teleport comes in for Dyrus, but there's a Janna not far behind. So will TSM overextend? No ult on Lulu. Lands literally lands. Zion has flash, but is it going to be enough? Trying to run away. 200 health left on him. Xmithie forced to run. The rocket's not going to be enough. Lustboy's not enough either. Aphromoo slows him down.
Woo! By the skin of his chinny chin there. Dyrus with a great help picks on the minion to facilitate that, but ZionSpartan just one step ahead with his life.
Yeah, no kill could end up being pretty critical. That could have absolutely just slingshotted TSM ahead in this match. Not getting that kill down and also having no way of releasing the pressure on mid lane either.
No.
Might mean TSM starts to close in around CLG in this mid game as they approach their big power spike.
And you can see Bjergsen's tendencies here. Whenever he starts to hover that close, he's going for the kills over and over again, and he wants Link dead immediately. See if he gets it anytime soon here. Link is paying all the respects to the damage that Bjergsen's putting out right now. He's going to go grab blue. Something
else I have to mention, though, is Santorin actually keeping up pretty well in CS on Sejuani early on in the game. We just talked about in our last game how well will Saintfish just farm on Sejuani up to his Cinder Hulk as his ultimate, because that's really when Sejuani turns on. And Xmithie actually got beat to jungle upgrade items. He hasn't finished his warrior yet. Sejuani is an absolute monster compared to Rek'Sai, almost from here on out.
Absolutely, and I've got to really then watch even more onto Doublelift and the AD carry versus tanks arms race. Not to mention you've got a shield from Thresh, you've got an exhaust. No, sorry, no exhaust, but Dyrus also adding a shield and an ulti as well. The giant front line, the single point of contact here for Santorin. And of course, there are so many ways to disrupt Doublelift as well. If Bjergsen can do something funny, if Lustboy can zone him out, so potentially worrying mid game here.
And one of my favorite evolutions of TSM playstyle throughout this year is the freedom they're giving Santorin to play other stuff. Initially, it was just, okay, you can only play supportive tanks that help Bjergsen. We've seen him games on Nidalee. They're letting him be an early adopter of the tank meta. They're letting him take a little bit more farm. And every time they allow Santorin more freedom, it seems like it improves the team.
And when we interviewed him as well, he was kind of toying around with Nidalee in the jungle before a lot of people were. Dyrus, he doesn't want to be toying around with this right now. Xmithie finding himself a solo kill. Nicely done.
Exactly. Jungle item or not, the lanes got swapped back for TSM. The top left side, the wards all fell down, and Dyrus was left alone. Good job. That flash was burned by Xmithie himself not that long ago. Kept track of it. Nice kill.
Very true.
I mean, this is Dyrus's conservative play, not necessarily working out in that context, trying to hide behind his turret again, but CLG actually just went one step more aggressive. All the while, ZionSpartan's been dying or near dying. He's been getting experience in CS, whereas Dyrus has not been getting those things. And if we look at the gold just at the top laners, it's actually a pretty big edge for ZionSpartan there in the top lane. It's the other lanes that are the advantage for TSM, definitely not the Dyrus.
And just a fresh level 6 on lane. So 8 to 6 massive as well. TSM though, again, they allocated bot lane. ZionSpartan has teleport, but there's no backup to make the play down here anyway. TSM just feeling comfortable enough to take this dragon. All said and done, we're at 2 turrets to 2, 1 kills to 1, 1 dragon to 1, basically an equal game if you don't count level.
Oh, man.
Okay, you got the flash
back up.
flash that time.
That's right away. That was like on cooldown.
Yep.
Yeah.
On cooldown of death and flash. Almost put him back on the CD.
I mean, like is to be expected from a TSM versus CLG game, we got a really close game on our hands 13 minutes in. They've been able to trade dragons, trade objectives. We've seen some difference in approach between Dyrus and ZionSpartan.
Yep.
Bjergsen is handling Link a little bit well in that mid lane. I'd say that's the main advantage TSM would have right now. But boy, is this game close.
That's the thing. It starts to become apparent who is really the stronger lane out of this one. And we look at ZionSpartan, one of the top laners,
yeah,
if you will, in North America right now. Then carried on the other side for TSM, it's the mid laner of Bjergsen. The strengths are definitely showing through.
Absolutely. The teams are playing really the ways you expect. Doublelift is back on a light game hyper carry. He may not like Vayne very much, but Jinx seems to be right in that wheelhouse for him. And great, CLG can go play a carry in the bottom lane. Who's surprised in this one at all? And I think there's a lot of chances for CLG to still keep the plays going well. I want to see if we can get those like charm outplays on Zed ults, things like that. You know, maybe they can stop that single point of crushing Bjergsen from winning the game for TSM.
Yeah, and because of the way the lane swaps worked, the point of power that Bjergsen normally hits once he finishes Blade of the Ruin King can't give the team many advantages. Think to when Bjergsen normally plays Zed. He gets his Blade of the Ruin King, and he split pushes and takes the outer turrets in both lanes.
Immediately.
Those turrets are already gone. If he wants to group up and create turret pressure, he'd have to be in the mid lane, which is now a team fight scenario against a Kennen and a mid-game Rek'Sai. It's not as big an advantage as he would normally be getting at this point in the game. Maybe Bjergsen goes for fights in the jungle, but that would require some really impressive vision control by TSM.
It would, and we'll see if that happens. Of course, with all these outer turrets gone except for the mid lane, so much of the map is available for play. And the question then is, who can make these things happen? Link first want to make a move, hits up Santorin a little bit. Lustboy has a large number of wards peppering that north jungle. Sightstone for Santorin as well. Looks like that red buff that TSM have actually been controlling for most of this game is where they want that pressure to be.
Well, pressure on Dyrus for sure.
Whoa!
Flash,
right over the wall.
In.
It's going to be a tough one. Wild Growth, a little too much for him just yet with the damage they're able to put out. Zanya's not finished there. Oh, Link, he's still in another charge. Can he pull it back around? He gets the boomerang, but he also goes down himself as Santorin throws down the permafrost. A little bit of bite for Link.
Dyrus doing everything he can to stay in this game early. Triple Doran's ring, going cooldown reduction, stacking as well, because he is a slightly more farm support, hoping to one day be a solo lane Lulu, and the farm is going on to other people on TSM right now. Santorin picking up that kill can create a very scary Sejuani that might be nearly impossible for CLG to cut through later.
And she took that minor detour for a Sightstone, spends 400 gold that aren't on tank stats, but a kill and assist makes up for that pretty easily. All the farm is getting 75 minions here. Not bad at all for a jungler. So Team Solomid, they have that front line. Dyrus, you don't need much more than the Morellonomicon and maybe a death cap for Lulu to reach 80% of her effectiveness anyway. Bjergsen finds the jungle fight.
That's what you're talking about a little bit before, Jatt. Bjergsen finally getting his roam on. He's almost able to take down Xmithie by himself. And now create pressure.
And that's exactly what happened. They took out Rek'Sai. They knew he couldn't be an initiation threat, and TSM was able to get damage on that mid lane turret. Very interesting match breaking out right now. But TSM taking that slight edge here.
Different game from the first time we saw these two teams played. CLG was on a better run by now. Put TSM a little bit on the ropes. Doesn't seem like TSM has put themselves into any dangerous positions here and have been able to accrue now just about 1,000 gold lead. And with the denial of buffs starting to come in, it's going to start hurting Link pretty good. Also looking at ZionSpartan. A little scary that he didn't go straight for that Zanya's. He's piecing together quite a bit, and with Zed on the other team, hopefully he's not pick right there.
It's very strange. It's half a Ryle's and half of a Zhonya's Hourglass. I don't know which one he really wants to complete first. It just depends if, is Bjergsen going to one-shot you or not, or are you going to team fight or not and need the Zhonya's to kind of sit inside that battle without getting popped by everyone else. Wildturtle and Bjergsen both have so much burst damage threat. Zion might not get a full ultimate off in a team fight if he doesn't finish some of these items for the tank stats. So that question remaining to be answered. Xmithie has actually done a very good job of scuttler control. He had taken the one by Dragon not long ago. That'll respawn in time for Drag. He just got the Baron one as well. So he's got his double sight stone on top of this one, so you're seeing the wards kind of go back and forth. Both these guys really heavily prioritizing getting vision on the map to keep track of all these aggressive plays.
Very vision-centric game, which is why it's only 2 kills to 2, 18 minutes in. And Xmithie really trying to use the mid-game power of Rek'Sai before, in all honesty, the Sejuani may end up taking over if they can get some controlled frontline type fights. And I hate to keep harping back to it, but the gold is very strangely distributed in this game, especially for TSM. Dyrus is at 4,000 gold. The jungler and both solos on his team are more than 2,000 gold ahead of him. It's 4,000 on Dyrus and over 6,000 on the other 3 people. Santorin, Bjergsen, and Wildturtle are all close in farm and gold and will be the 3 threats on this team, not Dyrus.
Yeah, it's impressive to point how much gold he really is earning. Bjergsen's at 190 CS and is 200 above Santorin. That jungle item, the farm he's getting as well, just doing a whole bunch of work. So a very big tank to be real. And without Infinity Edge still done for Doublelift, whereas this Trinity Force long done for Wildturtle. There it is, okay, so IH is here, that Zergreave's there as well. TSM though first to Dragon. CLG, again, not willing to fight this.
I'm really interested in if Dyrus can still pose that utility that comes from Lulu. If he's in the right spots, even being so far behind, he can provide a lot for TSM to get to these fights in the OK. Dragon going over, nicely done.
As far as top laners being behind, you'd much rather have your Lulu behind when keeping support carries than a Kennen behind who needs to be in the middle of the fray to be effective.
Well, the choice and pick for Dyrus on that Lulu from Champion Select had more than one reason, for sure. We even heard Loco Doco talking about how he goes down a few times in lane. Doesn't phase him, he knows that dance. As Wildturtle now starting to roam around, outer turrets are down. He cleans up the CS in the mid lane, which is quite even between the AD carries. Looks like he's going to start spiking towards a Bloodthirster after this Triforce.
Alright, so a very safe build for Wildturtle. Wants to make sure he can withstand damage from Kennen. And you do expect with Flash, ZionSpartan will reach the back line, and Wildturtle will have to recoup after taking 600 or so magic damage and getting stunned. So a bit of a more defensive play style from TSM. I mean, you can see that with the tank jungler and the supportive top laner here, really just biding time for Bjergsen to keep wreaking havoc around the map. All 3 outer turrets have been gone for a while, but TSM with 2 dragons in a row means, yeah, you know, they are the team that seems to be owning all the movements around the map. CLG playing second fiddle to them, playing reactor to them almost entirely. And you have an unsafe AD carry in Jinx where trying to push can just leave you hooked.
It's true. It is difficult, though, for TSM to get the pressure up in this game. Xmithie has that huge network of tunnels that TSM is trying to demolish. If TSM wants to commit to a push, they leave themselves open to that sneak from Rek'Sai. Killing those 3 tunnels on that side of the map could be very critical, while Rek'Sai was shown down here. And now it might become a bit of a split-pushing battle. CLG wants to force TSM into rotations here to maybe find a charm and maybe get Doublelift going on some of those resets. Very tactical game we have, TSM versus CLG here.
Rotations come back and forth. Bot lane, tier 2 goes down to half thanks to all that. Santorin at least saw it coming. He was already on his way before Link was attacking.
They gotta run.
TPs are up. There's the Void Rush. Oh, is he gonna try? He's gonna run.
Santorin
they're gonna try to pinch and hit back, but they are just out of there.
Yeah, not much reason to chase Link. All you're going to do is burn his ulti cooldown and give up pressure on top lane and mid lane here. So TSM identifying not worth all those costs, not certainly worth the benefit as well. And so TSM back to square one here. The aggressive moves by CLG, it does make some progress. The fact that bot tier 2 is down to half is pretty darn good by CLG Gaming and Link making that pressure. And he's even looking for a trap here on the Dyrus. He's in the fog of war. I wonder if Dyrus will see this coming.
Yeah, I also wonder if Link would be able to zero him out with Lulu ult and Flash still up.
With Zhonya's first and no magic hunt, probably not actually. Link can't even one-shot caster minions right now. At 22 minutes, that's a rare sight.
That's true.
It's carryover from the difficulty he had against Bjergsen in lane.
Did get the better of him, 224 to 172 in that lane. We didn't see, other than just in the beginning, the pressure from the junglers and the supports. So they pretty much had their own 1v1 time. Again, stealing the blue away. Not the first time we saw that. That was soloed by Bjergsen last time. And TSM getting more of what they want. Slowly, though. CLG is not allowing them to make a huge impact with these moves. They're staying safe as well.
Yeah, he's putting damage down into Santorin, but I really want to see, at the end of this game, like the enemy jungle monsters killed stat here for TSM. It seems like they've gotten like 8 buffs to 3 overall in this game, like the general count here. red buff, blue buff over and over again seem to be taken away here. CLG Gaming have just routinely seeded the map. It only looks like 1,000 gold difference this entire time, but there's a lot of just vision and pressure differences here. There's like 2 aggressive wards from CLG and like 7 from TSM.
It's true. You can definitely see TSM creeping their vision deeper and deeper into CLG's jungle, which makes it more and more difficult for CLG to give some of this pressure back. But CLG is holding on that second ring of turrets. That's the important one that I feel like if TSM cracks, they may end up winning this game, or if Jinx gets too far ahead in gold, if he's able to pick up a few kills.
Oh, Valkyrie gets stopped. Not much else happens though. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
It's all about split push.
It's
TSM very much playing 1-3-1 right here. Dyrus on one side, Zed on the other, but that's opening up the gut because they only have 3 people there.
There we go, finally seeing Doublelift get to the turrets. Jinx is gonna start tearing those things apart. Tearing apart Lustboy as well, popped up, knocked down. They pick up Xmithie as well, and CLG starts to grab their way back.
The kill went on to Xmithie, and that's actually not ideal for CLG. They need those kills onto Ahri or Jinx. We've seen what a fed Rek'Sai can do in the late game. It's not much, and they really need the late game to be coming in big here because they're going to have to cut through a shielded tank or a shielded assassin.
So then how does CLG cut through these champions? Well, Jinx still only halfway down to the Phantom Dancer, of course. Doublelift's item inventory very full because of the early Vamp Scepter he picked up, I think due to his fear of Zed's damage output, but that delays all these item spikes. He thankfully managed to push a turret down. That was cool, but about 600 gold, 300 gold away from Phantom Dancer, still has to wait on that combined, but Dragon's up, I think before he hits that mark. Would have been nice to have 55 crit chance right here.
Could very well be Dragon 3 for TSM. I feel like they still have that pressure advantage. Doublelift not hitting the item thresholds quite yet, but Bjergsen, he has. And honestly, with the Morellonomicon and Dyrus, as far as the support of top lane Lulu goes, he's there.
Yep.
He's the banana of tunnels down there for Xmithie in the bottom lane to do whatever he wants. If he has to get there, he can pretty much get anywhere if he needed to. They're in the right spot, though. No Void Rush necessary, as it is down as well.
Such a close game. If anyone can get a pick pre-Dragon here, it could very well turn it. There's teleports up on both sides. The gold is close. There is a Zhonya's Hourglass, at least onto Ahri. So much of this could be whether or not CLG gets a pick or tracking how well Bjergsen can flank. Those are the 2 biggest things I'm going to be watching for if they fight over this Dragon.
Yep, definitely keeping an eye on Santorin's Glacial Prison as well. If he can lock down a good one, they can kill Aphromoo. There's really no disengage for these guys on CLG. Get the wards they need.
Actually starting it with Zion on the flank. They're hoping that TSM comes in so Zion can flank them from the backside, and that's what TSM's doing. They're in the trap.
There they go, big lightning storm comes in, and now it's Xmithie off on the side, gets the death mark on him, flashes the wall. Bjergsen chases, looks like he might get the kill, and he will. Out he goes. 1-for-0 chase on Bjergsen, though. Link likely to get this kill. The rocket misses, the charm misses. Bjergsen gets out. Wildturtle, the center of attention, monsooned onto the wall, trades back onto Aphromoo, but it's still a team fight. That's more kills for TSM, but it's a red buff Doublelift. Flashes a zap, Santorin gets out here. CLG forcing TSM away, but actually loses gold on this one.
How does Bjergsen dodge so many skill shots? Barely escaping that one. The only thing that kept TSM positive in that fight, but they actually fell for CLG's bait right there. Look at us, we're starting the Dragon, but you're stronger than us. Well, that's because ZionSpartan was waiting for your backline in the brush. Now they come back with Rek'Sai. They even these Dragons as long as there's no steal.
Does not look like there will be one. They exit stage right real fast, and CLG mounting their own comeback. I wouldn't even really say a comeback. The back and forth is slightly being won by them, we'll say.
Super close. We knew both these teams had pretty heavy mid-game compositions. And we look at the start of this game. Great flash by Xmithie. Bjergsen has to burn all his stuff on the utility tank right there. But remember, Wildturtle had to go all the way around the side of this fight, which is one of the reasons CLG was able to chase through so well. But Bjergsen, left, right, back. He dodges every single one. And they end up equalizing the game, 4 kills to 4, 3 turrets to 3, 2 dragons to 2. What else would we expect?
Well, maybe at the end of this one for CLG fans, the scoreline between them will be 1-1 in the regular season. I mean, what a way to set up a potential playoff fight at the very end of it all. But TSM also, I saw some miscommunication at the very end of that fight where Wildturtle went sort of on the top side of that cliff and like Dyrus like way back there, so was Lustboy, and like didn't seem like they knew if they wanted to fight or not. And Wildturtle was a casualty of that, gave CLG that kill, gave them that dragon. So now the question is, we're back to a 1,000 gold game.
Yeah.
Basically, they're just having ZionSpartan sit top lane and freeze like forever. The lane is finally pushing out now, but he's been under that tier 2 turret most of this game, acquiring items.
Ready with that teleport to come down and give help if necessary. Really getting the Zhonya's is something he needs to do, and he's kind of been focusing on that with this wave clear on the top. All around the map, it is looking good for both teams. This is exactly what we were expecting coming out of this one. It was TSM's game last time, which put the overall to 9-8. It looks pretty even on the boards, 4-4, 2-2. If CLG wins this, they're 9-9 overall all-time record. So they want to get that. They want to even it up just as much as the score is right now. TSM looks to pressure now the top turret here, and they're not uncontested.
Yeah,
Where's
it's
CLG?
time to do Zed split push. They know Doublelift wants to continue to farm a little bit more. Doublelift really wants that Phantom Dancer to go along with his Bloodthirster that he built early to prevent some assassinations. But they might just be trading outer turrets once again. Everything in this game has its equal.
It really does, and actually, even with ZionSpartan trying to freeze the top lane up there, that was the payment for, well, guess what? There's war control top lane, and TSM shows up unannounced very easily, but CLG already a step ahead themselves. They get their own cross-map objective, just incredibly fun to watch, high-caliber play, 700 gold difference.
TSM one step ahead right here. They cut off CLG during this collapse, but do they have time to actually pressure this mid-turret?
Farm alarm comes in, maybe a flank alarm this time around, though. TSM have to respect Rek'Sai. Wildturtle does have flash up, but everyone else is missing it here, so TSM afraid to get caught out by a pretty high mobility team of CLG. They can't make a mistake here or they die.
Well, TSM also has to choose his targets accordingly now with 2 Zhonyas that he has to keep track of. He can keep track of all the skill shots, so I'm sure it's not going to be too hard for him to keep track of just a few Zhonyas being used. This one could get tight real quick. We're starting to approach towards the Baron. This is going to get cleared out, but it'll also draw some attention from Team Solomid.
Xmithie pulling some attention right there, loses a third of his health, even though he's got a good amount of armor items, to be completely fair. He knows Bjergsen targeted him last fight. Dyrus not exactly a huge threat, nor is necessarily Santorin.
At this point, Bjergsen really needs to find damage on a Doublelift.
Yeah, that's pretty much his only target. Hopefully Doublelift doesn't have that shield built up.
This has been such a well-played game, honestly, for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We know both teams have been trying to hit these power spikes. Bjergsen with the Blade of the Ruin King trying to get in the split push, but there was nowhere for him to go. Xmithie kind of kept in track with the tunnels. In the Dragon teamfights, CLG gets the flank at just the right moment. It's such a hard game to really pin down who has the advantage and when will they be getting the advantage, because there's individual champions and players that understand when they're weak, but within these team compositions, there are other champions that are getting them through to that point. Rek'Sai, you know, he's the one who's getting Jinx through to that point against a Corki. Sejuani, he's the one that maybe will save Zed and Corki later in team fights. It just has to do with how well these teams play the game, outguess each other, and if they can seek some objectives. That's going down.
And it's going to go to the blue team.
There's the ultimate coming from Link, but he doesn't want to go over the wall. They give that over to TSM. I thought Xmithie might have tunneled, but the rest of the team was not ready for an engage. So,
wow.
If the push from Bjergsen wasn't tough enough just a second ago, give Baron up to everybody now.
Sneaking that Baron could be the turning point in this game. A slight lapse in vision by CLG. They had so many Rek'Sai tunnels and wards in their jungle throughout the entirety of this game. They just let it lapse there. The big thing that I think led to that is when CLG traded the bottom turret for the top lane turret, because that meant they didn't have time to move their vision while TSM was responding. And in retrospect, that Baron was the result of 4 or 5 minutes of rotations of TSM. They realized CLG never had time to ward the Baron area,
what they wanted,
and they just went for it.
Yeah, you mentioned 4 or 5 minutes ago. I mean, ZionSpartan, again, freezing top lane all day long, finally punished for that when damage comes in enough that allows TSM to make these aggressive plays. Now it's the East jungle taking control of course, Dragon's up at 30 seconds, so TSM, being in the driver's seat, gets to move their vision in advance. Watch CLG. Can they ward Dragon back? Answer's likely no. TSM looking to easily pick up Dragon 3 in the next 20 seconds.
And they're starting to get one of the bigger gold leads we've seen this game at, funnily, only 2K. And it's even smaller than that, if you really calculate it. 10 seconds on Dragon. Xmithie getting pushed out here as Team Solomid again takes control of this bottom jungle. They'd lost it a little bit, but that's because, as we saw, the focus was towards top and towards Baron. See what they can do here as they push the bottom wave.
Now the split push can really come in huge. Bjergsen can empower an entire wave of minions just by himself. CLG kind of wants to find a team fight, but they would need to get a great initiation by the Kennen to try and get this Baron buff off of TSM. This could be a real turning point in this match.
It's almost too late. Bot lane tier 2, TSM's going to get there first. CLG can't go through this choke down here. Bjergsen's going to get some damage down. Thresh is already in the way. Does CLG really want to force through?
I don't think so.
It's really risky if you do. There's no flank for Kennen. He's with the rest of the team. Turret goes down.
Honestly, it may seem like a lapse by CLG to give up that Baron, but it was just so well prepped by TSM when we think about the way they were rotating and the safety they had and knowing that vision control.
Ooh, Link.
Now it's about CLG trying to hold off that Baron and get turret trades.
Well, TSM got tier 2 turret number 2 off that Baron. The Dragon pretty much always going to be theirs. I don't even know why CLG contested in the first place by doing so.
But now is TSM cut off.
Oh, true.
CLG is going to come down here on
Zion
the mid.
wants to get them in the choke. He's hoping to flash in. He goes.
That hook being missed. Slicing Maelstrom goes in. It's going to Lustboy locked up as well as Santorin in the middle. But the back line of damage dealers is still able to do what they need to do. Wiping out Counter Logic Gaming now. Aphromoo is going to be the next. The rocket misses. Doublelift does have the quick silver sash, but it's already been used, and he can't cleanse the death. Doublelift, come on. He gets out alive. That was Aphromoo going down in the fray of the fight. Get a little excited, and TSM may actually give chase here. They're definitely going to go for the lanes. Wildturtle will chase down to make sure it's death all around the map. He does eventually die. TSM, they're going for the base.
The power of the choke point. ZionSpartan thought he was catching TSM, but he ended up catching CLG themselves. The Sejuani ultimate with the Corki AoE was devastating, and CLG gets completely destroyed. 5-for-0 ace.
The question is now, what does TSM get out of this one? 2 turrets in the mid lane, and they don't want to risk the fight, even though Doublelift is still dead. No comebacks allowed, TSM. They saw what happened last time around these guys fought, and one misstep cost the game. So this is the engage. ZionSpartan thinks he can go for this one, but TSM's battle lines are so well built.
Yeah, and Rek'Sai's behind kind of cut off. Link there took a huge amount of damage before he was ready, so he could not play his Ahri. That the flank kill by Bjergsen, but then mainly the Sejuani ultimate into the Corki damage destroyed them. There's that mid-game power spike that Corki is still in. Doublelift, because he's built so many defensive items, wasn't quite at that point yet where he can free hit for success. And now, maybe it's too late. 3 dragons and 6,000 gold.
Man, that looked like a really good ultimate from ZionSpartan. You almost can't ask for more as Kennen flashing it.
But that's the problem, is you have a defensive team. You have Bjergsen not getting caught in it. Santorin's a tank. Lustboy's a tank. Dyrus is ults Wildturtle, who built Bloodthirster second. Nothing's dying there by the basically no magic pen Kennen. And Doublelift, I think, didn't even have Phantom Dancer there. Jatt, you were talking about the defensive build. Bloodthirster's second item, weirdly, Quicksilver
and
Sash.
QSS before his Phantom Dancer.
Exactly. So just there isn't damage on that build. CLG not realizing who does more in a fight in that game. Doublelift only now is actually as powerful as Wildturtle. Only now.
Yeah. Going for that Bloodthirster quite fast as they approach the turrets. Able to take a few more shots when
they
you're doing it.
They have a nice rotation here. They waited long enough. Very risky to wait in the enemy jungle while you have an exposed inhibitor.
Dyrus snuck by, though. He doesn't want to look for the slow just yet. Looks like TSM
now CLG's in a little bit of trouble of getting collapsed on. TSM just wants to stop recalls while Wildturtle pushes this mid lane.
Well, here's the thing.
They might just let him go. They're gonna.
Despite the 7,000 gold deficit, though, I really think the Phantom Dancer being done shapes the game a little bit here. You've got the Magic Pen finally done for Link, the Phantom Dancer here for Doublelift. He actually deals meaningful damage now, and Santorin, the only guy with a ton of armor. Doublelift commands respect now in teamfights, and with that QSS, can't be a Bjergsen target. How do you reach Doublelift? If CLG actually holds a front line for him, Double can carry this game, but the rest of the team being far ahead with the global gold lead, maybe it's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani's a really big guy. I know we can say the only guy with armor, but how does Doublelift hit anyone but Santorin in these fights, especially with Lulu shields? That inhibitor was not long for this world.
But even still, Wildturtle playing very safe. He knows Charm could ruin his life here, and that will be the inhibitor going down.
I was going to say, if CLG did have a chance to jump in with Kennen and get a few picks, it would be at the inhibitor turrets, but unfortunately that fell when none of them were up, so things are only getting harder. They have to watch that one go down as TSM takes a Polaroid, smiling on the way out. And now they're just going to continue to push the lanes. Baron, 20 seconds, and that's just going to be Bjergsen going back to his push.
Exactly. TSM can easily play this game very controlled right now. They actually managed to, on the way out, put wards down in that north jungle. Okay, they can recall, replenish their sight stones, replenish their inventories, come back. If CLG does sweep wards, or even if CLG puts wards down, TSM will know where those got placed. They can sweep them back out in preparation for Baron. There's a very low chance CLG can contest that.
This is their only window to get a little bit of vision down, and to maybe even clear out pinks as far as CLG is concerned, but even that window is closing rapidly.
It's hard to do because you have to do it as a team, so you're not even covering that much ground when you're sweeping and placing. It's all just the one area, and hopefully that's where you're going to be fighting.
Yeah, and they're sweeping into Fog of War. They have no idea if TSM's death rushing any of these spots, especially if only Bjergsen shows where's the hook, where's the glacial prison from Sejuani. TSM can't always know where that's coming from.
Wow.
They did get some wards down, but as I said, TSM knows where they're coming in from.
Bjergsen also just finished an Infinity Edge. So if we're talking about being able to QSS,
wow,
at that point it doesn't matter. Because if he hits you a few times on a no armor target, or even a high armor target, Xmithie or Doublelift, two targets that Bjergsen can easily kill. That matchup in the mid lane completely swayed this game in the side of Bjergsen. It started 20 or 30 CS, but as the game has progressed, no one has been able to touch Bjergsen or stop him from farming, and it's really making Link look incredibly far behind.
Yeah, Bjergsen's got more auto-attack DPS than Doublelift does right now. If they just sat there right-clicking, Bjergsen would win that, so good luck, Double. But they are now being started out. Great vision control still here. CLG has some defensive wards, but none aggressively enough to stop Baron. Quick, clean kill, no way to stop this. CLG, 15 seconds to Dragon, but I think they just lose their base if they try.
They need to be very fast if they're going to grab that one. CLG getting everything they need on the bottom, but they got to make sure they can still get the base as well.
You're not going to be able to take that by
yourself.
yourself.
They're 3 away from even 5 dragons here, and losing him would be just too detrimental.
So vision's there, but TSM playing this very smart. Thankful for them that dragon wasn't at the same time as Baron, because that could have been easily snuck, but 15-second advantage. Q's for the steal, not going to get it. Dragon number 4 now. TSM clears minion waves even faster, plus the Baron buff push, and they have all the tools they need to win this game.
Doublelift does have his build finally, but I just don't think the rest of CLG is at the point where that matters. They need Kennen and Ahri to be able to provide more threat. Baron buff up. They got to go in almost right now.
This is going to be a tough one. Bjergsen on the front line means he can also zero somebody out and mess with the shadows.
Being down is just devastating. That creates almost no threat onto the backline of TSM. Maybe even expect to dive here. They won't have to. They're just going to kill the turret.
Seems easy so far. QSS and Wildturtle. Yeah,
Blocking
nice.
the
He
minion.
hits the zap. Double of QSS is down. Link's ulti is down. No QSS on him. So many easy stun targets. Wildturtle with shields takes that one down. In comes the engage. Xmithie forced to run. Santorin just wants the inhibitor first. Lands an AoE slow. And actually Santorin forced out, but it's already Rek'Sai being dead. Junglers 1 for 0. And look at this damage coming out. Wildturtle exploding some people. And hip goes down. Turtle happy to still stay alive. But the rocket doesn't quite get him. Summoner heal means that. Link no ulti can't chase. But there's Doublelift. He finally gets one. Can he get any more? Maybe not. Wildturtle fires in. There's the flay. Doublelift, can he do the damage? The answer is no. The hex from Dyrus makes Wildturtle win the fight. 13-5. Down goes the Nexus turrets.
It's almost not even fair because Wildturtle's got 2 supports helping him out. Doublelift flashed the flay, but you can't flash a polymorph, and he loses that duel to Wildturtle, ending the game.
Almost the same thing from last game. Wildturtle coming up big around the last fight, and Team Solomid will take down CLG Gaming.
Huge comeback from TSM from yesterday, dropping that game to gravity, but then moving to 2-0 on the season against CLG Gaming in a very well-played game.
A very convincing game as well. Bjergsen let himself get counterpicked. I don't remember any meaningful mid lane bans in there. Said, yep, here we go. I'm going to play Zed. Link, bring it, essentially. Crushes the guy in the lane. Bit of help from Lustboy, sure. Standard TSM flair there, but Bjergsen creating all the pressure. Oddly enough, only 2, 1, and 3. Just found individual targets to kill, and it then fell down to Wildturtle, who dominated all game long. Only 1 death, 9 kills. Great Corki performance. And TSM played a very smart rotational game, a vision game, when they controlled that top jungle and snuck that Baron. All calculated.
I mean, it seems to be this recurring theme when teams play against TSM. They focus Dyrus because they're thinking, all right, we can kill him. Let's move everything towards that. Yet the rest of TSM always just pulls so far ahead. When we were even in that game, the 3 richest players on the map were on TSM. All the focus was put into shutting down Dyrus. it allowed Wildturtle, Bjergsen, and Santorin to thrive. And then you look at the end of the game, Dyrus was 0-11 with 40% CDR and a death cap on Lulu.
Yeah.
The perfect support Lulu items for supplementing a team in team fights. And again, one team runs Operation Kill Dyrus, TSM runs Operation Win the Game.
A lot of times, Dyrus has been in this situation, and he keeps himself safe. They still focused him when he went down to the bottom lane, and multiple times missed the kill onto that. It's something they're okay with. They play for that moment that's happening, and they're not worried if something goes wrong because they know their plan can still unfold towards the late game.
Yeah, TSM's plan was so smart. I mean, even thinking back to the beginning of Champion Select, where they're like, all right, yeah, first pick Lulu. You camp Dyrus, and they kind of expect it to happen. They fight C9ers all the time. They fight CLG, who seems to do it very well as well. Sure, Dyrus, have 166 CS. You're still Lulu.
Yep.
You got level 11 by the end of the game. Who cares? You're fine. You're going to do your job kind of no matter what, and did so.
How about 430 onto Bjergsen?
Yeah.
CS
Sure.
distribution is something that so often gets lost because there is only so much CS on the map. So unless that CS is literally dying to turrets, someone on TSM is there to clean it up. And just as far as farm distribution, TSM does it a little bit differently. AD carry-wise, I mean, that CS was going to Doublelift, but the rest of the team just wasn't there to support him. Like, this isn't to take away anything from CLG. Like, that was an incredibly close and well-played game. But the vision control, the rotations, and the Baron that TSM was able to take is what decided the game. But it's not like that was CLG making a terrible call.
Right.
TSM just got that slight edge, ran him around for 5 minutes, and realized where the ward hole was.
I think also what was a big thorn in the side of CLG Gaming was, as he was saying, not mistakes, but when they lost that fight in mid lane, that they thought they had the flank on, they thought they got faster, they're faster than Team Solomid, that'll make you second guess yourself going into the next fight.
That's something I actually really dislike about Doublelift as a player. I'm a person who really likes looking at item builds and the mathematics behind builds, and he builds so overly defensive. He just doesn't have contribution to the team. And CLG are a team that's used to getting ahead early game. They're used to every 20-minute game they ever play, like, oh, we're up 4,000 gold. And so Doublelift buys a QSS to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to get picked off.
Yeah.
So I'm at parity with the enemy AD carry, and I'm not going to die for free to Zed. Well, guess what? Turtle's got more gold than you. If you stop and buy a QSS, he's at way more gold than you. Wildturtle's going to destroy you in a team
That's like
fight.
one of the things we used to talk back in the day. If he builds an Infinity Edge, you might want to match the damage kind of thing.
Yeah.
Simple.
And that was, I think, a big weakness where CLG took a team fight that they literally could not win. Whether Baron buff timed out or not, they weren't powerful enough yet to take that fight, and you saw what happened.
Nope. So now it's 10-8 in overall matchups between these teams with TSM pulling away.